My former best friend and I had been friends for over 15 years. Shortly after she got married, she found out she was pregnant. I was thrilled and excited for her, knowing she had always wanted to be a mother. Shortly after, she had a miscarriage. I cried for her, knowing how much that broke her heart. Fast forward almost a year later, and I found out I was pregnant. I was excited and ready to start this journey because I had also always wanted to be a mother. However, I dreaded telling her, knowing how upset she would be with me. I called her mom and cried my eyes out while telling her. Her mom said I was considerate for understanding her daughter's feelings, and I then asked if she could tell her for me. Note that we live 2.5 hours away. Fast forward 3 weeks later, I finally received a message from her that said, "Congrats. Sorry if I'm being mean. It's just too soon for me." This broke my heart because I had been so happy for her when she found out, but I never got that same support in return. I kept in mind about her miscarriage and decided to let it go. Fast forward again to my gender reveal. She told me she wouldn't be able to attend because she had a wedding the night before that she had already committed to. I completely understand, and she then congratulated me on the gender. But once again, it was very short, and it was clear she wasn't happy for me like I was for her. Yet I still kept in mind that it wasn't easy for her. As soon as we picked a date for my baby shower, I informed her and her mom, whom I was close with, about the dates and times to make sure they didn't have anything planned that day. The baby shower was 3.5 months away. I then reminded them multiple times about the date and time, and we sent out invitations. A few days before the baby shower, she texted me saying they got the dates mixed up and wouldn't be able to attend. However, they were planning on coming a different weekend to celebrate just me and my baby. But when that week came, it turned out they weren't coming for me, but to celebrate a family member's birthday. They were just going to give me presents there. She sent a text asking if I was still coming, which I ignored due to personal issues in my life and being upset with her. Hours later, she sent me a text about how I didn't understand how hard it was for her to see her best friend have a healthy baby and that it took a toll on her for my baby to be healthy. I sent a text replying that I don't want anyone in my life who isn't happy about my baby's health. So am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, so wait. Let me play devil's advocate here. Instead of telling your best friend that you were pregnant, you called her mom and asked her to tell her. You just broadcasted to your friend that you thought she'd be unhappy. Everything that happened afterwards was her living up to what you thought she would do. I'd be pretty pissed too if my so-called best friend told my mom to tell me because she thinks I'm too sensitive. That changes the whole best friend dynamic on a dime. How far along was she when she miscarried? 0 to 3 months? 3 to 6 months? 6 to 9 months? I need more context here because after 20 weeks, you actually have to give birth, and that haunts you forever. Now, I can see her mixing up a few dates. She has her own life too. She did text you if you were still coming to a birthday party. People don't need to celebrate you. She is happy for you. She's just sad. No, I don't think you're the jerk, but I also think you should give her a bit of leeway. 15 years is a lot to throw out because of a misunderstanding. Comment 2. Not the jerk. Don't listen to the previous person. Look, your friend had a miscarriage, and you tried your best to be a good friend and sensitive to her. At the end of the day, though, you were going through a major life milestone that is scary and could have possibly not had a positive outcome, all while trying to be supportive of a selfish friend. You got pregnant almost a year later, so throughout the pregnancy, it's nearly 2 years. I would never say the friend should get over her grief, but she, as a friend, has to make room for your happiness too. I guarantee if she got pregnant again, she would want you there and excited for her, yet she can't do those things for you. Not a good friend at all. Support works both ways. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a week since I shared my story, and boy, has it been a roller coaster. I never expected things to take the turns they did. After I sent that last text to my former best friend, the one where I said I didn't want anyone in my life who isn't happy about my baby's health, things got really quiet. For a few days, there was no word from her, and I was left to stew in my own mix of anger and sadness. I kept thinking about our history, the sleepovers, the secrets we shared, and how we supported each other through thick and thin. It was hard to reconcile that with the current silence. Then, out of the blue, I got a text from her. It was a picture of a small, delicate bracelet with a charm that had what would have been her baby's birthstone. The text read, "I bought this for myself to remember, but I want you to have it for your baby. It's time I let go." My heart dropped. It was such a raw, vulnerable moment, and I could feel the weight of her grief through the phone. I didn't know how to respond. I was touched by the gesture, but also confused and still hurt. I decided to call her mom, the woman who had been like a second mother to me growing up. She answered, her voice heavy with emotion. She told me that after our falling out, my friend had been going to therapy. She was working through her grief and the envy that had built up inside her. Her mom said she was proud of her daughter for taking that step and that she hoped we could mend our friendship. The next day, I got a package. Inside was the bracelet and a letter. In it, my friend poured out her heart. She wrote about how she had been consumed by her loss, how it had turned her bitter and resentful. She apologized for not being the friend I needed and deserved during my pregnancy. She talked about our past, how we used to plan our futures together, imagining our kids would be best friends like us. I cried reading that letter. It was like a window into her soul, and I saw all the pain and love tangled up together. I remembered how she had been there for me when my dad left, how she held me as I cried and never once judged me for my feelings. It made me realize how deep our bond went and how much pain we both were in. I decided to reach out to her. We met halfway between our towns at a small cafe we used to visit during our college road trips. Seeing her was like coming home, but also like walking into a storm. We hugged, and it was like no time had passed, but when we sat down, the air was thick with things unsaid. We talked for hours. She told me about her therapy, about how she was learning to cope with her miscarriage, and how she was trying to find joy in life again. I told her about my fears of becoming a mom, about how I missed having her to talk to. We cried, we laughed, and it felt like we were healing some of those old wounds. But it wasn't all tears and reconciliation. There was a moment that nearly shattered the fragile peace we were building. She confessed that the reason she missed my baby shower was that she couldn't face seeing me so happy, so close to having what she lost. That stung. I had been so wrapped up in my own hurt that I hadn't fully grasped the depth of her pain. As we parted ways, she handed me another small box. Inside was a matching bracelet for her, with my baby's birthstone. "So we're always connected no matter what," she said. It was bittersweet. We were taking steps to mend our friendship, but there was an understanding that things would never be quite the same. My husband mocks my bedridden business until he sees the cash and tries to take over. I shut him down, but now he's playing dirty. 30-year-old female. I opened up my own business in January of last year. I was bedridden due to a tough pregnancy and had zero income, and I wanted to do something. So I got into resale. My husband at the time told me I was wasting my time and that it was nothing but a pipe dream and that I was wasting money. It actually caused a lot of fights in the beginning, but I stuck it out because I believed in myself and didn't really give myself the ability to fail. My kids even joined in with me. 3 kids from my previous marriage plus a now 4-month-old with my husband. But yeah, so he didn't believe in me at all, basically. He just saw me as wasting money. Now, we have separate bank accounts and all of my product is kept in an indoor storage unit. So my husband has never seen my product or known how much money I've brought it. I've been paying my portion of the bills and not giving any hints on what I've been doing. I honestly, as childish as it may be, wanted to wait until I had a bucket load of profit and then show him. That way he felt bad for all those fights he picked with me over wasting money. But anyways, since I started the business, I have a profit so far of $34,000. I've only lost out so far on maybe $5,000 worth of product. Considering I started with a measly $500, I'm very impressed and proud of myself. I promote mainly on TikTok and have my own business account on there. Well, my husband found the business account on TikTok and saw I had a following of around 400,000, almost. He started asking questions, and eventually it got to him asking how much I've made. Well, I went over the numbers with him, and now he's super interested in what I'm doing and tries coming with me and the kids on the weekends to do inventory and shipments. Now I'm willing to admit that I'm just getting touched out by his presence within my business, because now he's trying to get me to buy things that he likes, not what the general consumer does. He's trying to change the way I do things by offering suggestions on what would be easier. He's always right in the way, and he's just stressing me out. And now he's saying that he wants to join in and basically use my TikTok account to promote the things he buys, which he wants me to do because he hates being on camera. I feel bad because I know it would be a way for us to connect over something profitable, but I just don't want to. My kids and I started from scratch, and he picked massive fights with me over this, but now that he sees I'm making money, he wants to use what I built without him so he can make money off of it. So I told him he needs to do his own thing. Start from scratch like I did. Learn like I did, because I don't want him involved in what me and my kids built, especially not after picking all those fights with me and making me feel stupid without an apology up until I mentioned it to him either. He says I'm blowing this out of proportion and that he just wants to be involved, and says he won't apologize for having his doubts, and says I should understand. But now that I've proven him wrong, I should be willing to cut him in on it, because it can be a family thing. I just don't want him to. This is me and my kids' thing, and I don't want him taking over at all or have any say on how we do things, which I know will happen. It was my money that started the business, and only my money that went into it. He didn't help at all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. It's awesome that you've been able to build a business like that. Bravo. Your husband is a manipulative jerk. Now that there's money to be had, it's now a family thing. You needed his moral support in the beginning. That's where being family comes in. The very least he could have done was not be an obstacle and not put you down. Now he just wants to take over? Oh no. Stick to your guns. He needs to reflect on his actions. I don't have high hopes, but hey, let's hope and understand why you feel the way you do. Tell him that if you want his help, you will ask for it. You're not jumping in on his job, so he needs to stay out of yours. Comment 2, not the idiot. He is your husband. He should have believed in you and not belittled you. He is trying to change the formula for the success of your business. Is he giving ideas for a business he was not in? Is he crazy? Don't let him in. There will just be problems. His suggestions can affect your business. He never apologized to you. Now he wants to be part of the success. He also wants to take advantage of your account to promote his things. He is a freeloader. Keep the business separate. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a rough few months since then, and I've got quite the update for you all. So remember how my husband suddenly took an interest in my business after he discovered how successful it was? Well, things escalated quickly from there. He started buying things with his own money, trying to add them to my inventory. At first, I thought it was kind of sweet that he wanted to be involved, but it didn't take long for the problems to start. He bought this huge lot of vintage comic books without consulting me first. I mean, I get it, he's into comics, but my customer base is more into trendy clothing and accessories. I tried to explain that to him, but he wouldn't listen. He was convinced they'd sell like hotcakes. Spoiler alert, they didn't. We ended up with a garage full of unsold comics, and I had to put my foot down. That's when the first big fight happened. He accused me of not trusting his judgment, and I reminded him of all the times he didn't believe in me. It was a mess. The kids could hear us arguing, and it was just not the environment I wanted for them. I thought we'd get past it, but things just kept getting worse. One weekend, he decided to surprise me by reorganizing my entire storage unit. I walked in, and my heart sank. Everything was out of place, and it took me and the kids hours to sort it out. I was furious, and that's when I told him he needed to back off. He didn't take it well. But here's the heartbreak. Amidst all this chaos, I found out he'd been talking to his friends about how he was the brains behind the operation, how he'd turned my little hobby into a real business. It felt like a slap in the face. I had built this from the ground up while bedridden and with 4 kids to care for. I couldn't believe he'd try to take credit for my hard work. The confrontation that followed was one for the books. I had never been so angry in my life. I told him everything, how he had never supported me, how he had called my dream a waste of money, and now he had the audacity to claim it as his own success. He tried to defend himself, saying he was just trying to help, but I wasn't having any of it. The tension in the house became unbearable. We were like 2 strangers living under the same roof, and I could see the confusion and hurt in my kids' eyes. It broke my heart to see them caught in the middle of this. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, he did the unthinkable. He set up his own TikTok account and started promoting the comic books, using the followers I had gained to push his stuff. He even tried to get the kids involved, telling them it would be fun to have a family business. I was livid. This was the last straw. I sat him down and laid it all out. I told him that he had to stop using my business, my followers, and my hard work for his gain. I reminded him that this was something me and the kids had built together, and he had no right to just barge in and take over. He didn't say much after that. He just got up and walked away. It's been tense ever since. He's still trying to sell those comic books, but now he's doing it on his own, separate from my business. My wife screams at our son because online classes overwhelm her, so I install cameras and discover a harsh truth that changes everything. My wife, female 36, and I, male 34, have been happily married for going on 8 years now. We have 2 kids, one from her previous marriage, and haven't had any major issues, just life's turmoil from time to time. Our youngest, 5-year-old, started kindergarten last summer, and with the extra time on her hands, my wife started 2 online college courses that she's busy with during the week. She doesn't currently have a job. I work long hours, and she'd normally cook us dinner and take care of the house while I'm at work. But lately, she's been too busy and stressed with those college courses to do much of anything else. It got to the point a couple weeks ago where she forgot to pick up one of the kids, and I was called from work to pick him up. Now, I understand stressful times. I've had plenty being the sole breadwinner, but we always made it work. My wife is very supportive, so I definitely want to reciprocate that with her courses. But last week, her stress caused a very aggressive outburst that I don't know how to come back from. Our youngest helped set the table and accidentally dropped the salad bowl. It broke and glass went everywhere, so we couldn't eat the salad anymore. My wife and I take a more gentle approach of natural consequences with our parenting, in which accidents that happen are not scolded, but we instead clean up our mess together and apologize. Instead of helping him clean up or making sure he was okay with all the glass everywhere, she started screaming at him. I understand losing patience. I've raised my voice at the kids at times, but she started completely verbally attacking him, yelling at him what a stupid little boy he was, how he can't do anything right, etc. I'm not a fan of disagreeing with my wife in front of the kids, but I tried to step in when our kid started crying. She didn't stop. She kept screaming until he wet himself, and then scolded him for not controlling his bladder. She wanted to let him sit in his urine until after dinner to make him rethink what he did. I heavily disagreed and changed him right away. I talked to her about it that night. She admitted she lost her cool and that she's not proud of it, but that everybody makes mistakes. While I completely agree, I just can't look at her the same anymore. This past week, I've been trying to drop it and to move on, but whenever I look at her, I feel physically uncomfortable, like I'm suddenly living with a stranger. Small update. I didn't expect so many people to see this, but thank you for all the insights. I'm sorry for not responding to individual comments. I'm overwhelmed. I just wanted to clear some things up. Our eldest is 15 years old. She is not my biological child, but she calls me dad, and I see her as my daughter. She lives with us every other week. I work 50 hours a week on average. My hours are unpredictable sometimes. My wife stays home, picks up the kids, and keeps the house tidy while the kids and I are out. We obviously both agreed to these more traditional roles. I don't think she's lazy. This is just what worked for us. I also want to clear up my reaction to my wife's scolding. I picked him up when he started crying, but apart from that, I froze in place when I should have just gotten him out of there. I know I should have stepped up more. That's why I'm trying to take the right steps right now. I think this should go without saying, but I'm absolutely not going to hurt my wife. I've taken a couple days off work so I can be around the house and take my son out for some one-on-one time. I've asked my brother to order me some of those nanny cams you recommended so my wife won't notice. I'll make a separate update once I actually figure out how to go from here. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You need to do something before she becomes physically hurtful to the kids. If that was enough to push her over the edge, then next time she absolutely will physically punish them. Your son was so terrified of her that he wet himself. You can't let that happen again. You need to ask her to leave and see a counselor because you will not tolerate that kind of abuse of your children. Comment 2. Wait. Your wife thought that screaming at and humiliating your own child is a mistake? If she behaves like that, she shouldn't be near any children. If you care about your children, get them away from that aggressor ASAP. Imagine what she does to the kids when you are not around. Protect them and leave her. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my wife and our youngest son. It's been a rough week, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened. So, after the incident with the salad bowl, things seemed to calm down for a bit, and my wife apologized to our son, and we all tried to move past it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I remembered your advice about the nanny cams, and my brother came through. He ordered them, and I set them up around the house while my wife was out running errands. The first few days, the cameras didn't catch anything out of the ordinary. My wife was her usual self, taking care of the kids and managing her online courses. But then, 2 days ago, I came home early from work. I had finished up a big project and decided to surprise the family with an impromptu movie night. When I walked in, the house was eerily quiet. I found my wife in the living room, on her laptop, completely absorbed in her work. She didn't even notice me at first. I called out to her, and she jumped, slamming her laptop shut. That's when I heard it, crying from upstairs. I rushed up to find our youngest locked in his room, sobbing. He said he had accidentally spilled juice on one of my wife's textbooks, and she had lost it. She yelled at him, called him names, and locked him in his room as punishment. My heart sank. This was way beyond losing her cool. This was something else entirely. I comforted him and cleaned up the mess, all the while trying to keep my anger in check. I confronted my wife about it, and she brushed it off, saying she was under a lot of pressure with her finals coming up. But that didn't sit right with me. I decided to check the nanny cams. The footage was shocking. It showed not just the incident with the juice, but several other moments where she was harsh and unfair to our son when she thought no one was watching. It was like watching a different person, someone I didn't recognize. I was torn about what to do next. I love my wife, but I couldn't let this continue. I took a couple of days off work to spend more time at home and to figure things out. I also reached out to my wife's sister, who she's close with, to see if she had noticed any changes in her behavior. She was surprised and concerned, and she agreed to talk to my wife. Yesterday, we had a family meeting. My wife's sister came over, and we all sat down to talk. It was tense, and I could tell my wife was on edge. I brought up the incidents and showed her the footage from the nanny cams. She was mortified, and for the first time, I saw genuine remorse in her eyes. She broke down, admitting that she had been feeling overwhelmed and that she had started taking prescription anxiety medication a few months ago without telling me. She said the medication made her feel numb and irritable, and she hadn't realized how much it was affecting her behavior towards our son. We decided that she would stop taking the medication and seek therapy to manage her stress and anxiety. Her sister offered to help out with the kids and the house, while my wife gets the help she needs. It's been a ride of emotions, and I'm still processing everything. but I'm hopeful that we can heal as a family and move forward from this. Our son is resilient, and with time and support, I believe we can rebuild the trust that was broken. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.